Makes good points. In the 3.5 years that I've been chief of police, it's been outside in, meaning we've had 3 investigations where the use of force in custody deaths, and we've been looked outside in, meaning the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Civil Rights Division from the Department of Justice have looked to see how we as a department run our investigations. And every one of those investigations were brought back to the chief of police and said that those investigations were properly and were thorough. If you've ever dealt with the federal government, and especially the Civil Rights Division with the FBI and the Department of Justice, they ask some really tough questions. So I'm very confident. I can assure the community, all of you in front of me, that we have the proper staff, justice will prevail, and we will get to the bottom of this situation. When I look around the country, and when I talk to Charles Gruber, who's my peer, and who is working with the Department of Justice, and all the departments that get themselves into a jam, or all those departments across the country that aren't doing things, the Rockford Police Department is doing them. And we've been doing them now for over a year. We're an accredited police agency. We have on-site supervisors go to the scene of a use of force incident, not to investigate the criminal act, but to investigate the use of force. Not very many departments across the country are doing that. That's with all the use of force incidents that occur, whether it be a taser or OC or someone have to go to a hospital. There's a written protocol. So those departments across the country that are not doing that, the Department of Justice comes in and says, you need to do this. We're already doing it. So again, I'm very confident with the work of Deputy Chief Linmark and his staff and Sergeant Wisenhan up here that we'll get through the criminal investigation. And we'll do that in a timely manner. We'll speak to all individuals, and we'll provide our information to the State's Attorney for his full review.
Chief, would you describe for us your evaluation of officers Poole and North, is how their capability as police officers?
Well, one is Oda Poole is a 5-year member of the Rockford Police Department, and Officer North is a 22-year member of the Rockford Police Department. As you know, I can't discuss personnel issues, so I can't discuss anything of the personnel jacket with you. They're both employed by the police department. This incident occurred on Monday evening. They're both on administrative leave pending the outcome of the criminal investigation in this investigation.
Mayor, could you tell us about the meeting you had with community leaders earlier today? How that meeting came to be, who was involved, and a little bit about how it went?
A request was made to my office by the Rockford Ministers Fellowship to meet to discuss this incident. They, along with other members, mostly were members of local clergy, mostly African American members of local clergy, but there's some others there, joined myself and the chief, Deputy Chief Linmark, State's Attorney, and the coroner joined about halfway through that meeting, and had a discussion about, frankly, nothing different than what we're discussing here, frankly, in this room. It was about what we could discuss, the elements we've already talked about here. Also, I talked about, there's a lot of the same questions that you have asked, they had asked, concerns about the process that would be followed, concerns about overall issues in the community, and we had some pretty good discussion, just like what I think we're having right here. And the ultimate, commitment I made was to continue, as I am saying here, to be open to dialogue. And again, it's frustrating, I'm sure, because a lot of, it's, as I said in the meeting, it's human nature to want to try to understand what exactly happened, understand all the facts and circumstances. But I wouldn't be doing my job, and I'm absolutely, I told them as well, I'm going to try to be careful with the words that I use, because I don't want to give an impression that there's been a rush to judgment when there hasn't. And I stand behind my record, our record as an administration, as I told them, that we will do a complete and fair analysis, and we'll take appropriate actions.
Question for Chief Epperson. Chief Epperson, could
I'm going to take a couple more questions from the media first before taking questions from the general public.
Chief Epperson, could you clarify, you mentioned with Officer Poole that there were fully vetted in the grand jury in the past with the 2 other cases and reached a resolution. Was he cleared, just for the background, was he cleared in those 2 cases?
Yes, both of those incidents were looked at the criminal investigation because of the incidents, and at the conclusion of prior to State's Attorney Briscato, with all those reports, cases, investigation was handed over to the State's Attorney, was taken to a grand jury, and the grand jury did not, said it was, the use of force was justifiable.
Other questions from the media?
Yes.
Other questions from the media?
Just so we have it right, can you the spellings of those two officers' names?
It's been mentioned the possibility of the Reverend Jesse Jackson being invited to Rockford to get involved in this. Would you welcome that turning into a national story and Jesse Jackson getting involved?
2 points. Number one, I think there was a question of the names of the
Just
officers.
can you spell those real quick so we can get that?
Yes, Officer Oda Poole, O-D-A, P-O-O-L-E.
Okay.
Then Officer Stan North, S-T-A-N, and last name N-O-R-T-H.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then the next question had to do with some reports that Reverend Jesse Jackson was coming to our community.
Well, he has been the black and local ministers have reached out to. Good.
Well, I've had some discussions with some of our local clergy about whether there had been an invitation or discussion with Reverend Jackson about coming to our community. I've not talked to anyone personally who actually talked to Reverend Jackson, so I can't really comment on what may or may not have been discussed. I think there's other people, maybe perhaps in this room, that you might be able to have a discussion with. That being said, I've got two overall points. Number one, I've said this many, many times before. Rockford, as a community, needs to be in a position where we can solve our own problems and not look to others. That being said, I welcome, if Reverend Jackson were to come to our community, we'd be telling him the same things we're saying here today, which is that we're going to have a process which is open, that we've got a track record in which we've been very willing to be self-critical of our conduct and take appropriate action. Again, I stand behind my record on that, and I also stand behind our commitment to work with our community, trying to continue to move this community forward. We've got a lot of challenges. We just launched a new academic year for the Rockford schools, public schools, private schools. Our kids are heading back to school. We've got tremendous challenges throughout this community, and we simply want to make sure that we are continuing to work on those challenges, solve our problems moving forward. Sorry, we had two questions. I'll get to both of them. I think actually he was first. He actually was right at the very beginning. Then I'll get you next. Promise.
Mr. Mayor,
I have a comment.
I've heard a lot of words from you and your chief regarding credibility and not a rush to judgment. And I was also a part of the ministers' meeting. I'm not a minister, I'm a former prosecutor from Cook County in Chicago. What concerned me at this press conference right now was the chief's words. He started off by saying, I'm going to tell you the facts of the case. And then he read off about the door opening and the young lady grabbing the officer's gun. To me, you have already rushed to judgment by saying that, because to me that appears that the case has already been resolved. If you say that young man, telling us that young man, according to his facts, reached for that officer's gun and grabbed it, that is a justifiable homicide. And if you're telling us to be calm and don't rush to judgment, you're chief to retract those statements. Because those are not the statements that I've gathered thus far from the witnesses who were present. And with all due respect to the chief, he was not there.
2 points. Number one, I also made comments in my remarks